Okay, cool. So my project, Me, Myself and I, The Search for My Identity. So what is the project first and foremost? Well, it's a feature-length, self-reflexive documentary or essay film. It'll have a 60 to 90-minute runtime and it'll be based in England and the Netherlands. So the research question for this, it's kind of evolved and changed as this like development process has gone on. Initially, it was kind of looking more at like what the documentary itself was kind of answering, but now the research question is kind of looking more at how, through the process of making a documentary film, whether I can then sort of answer my research question. So the sort of the final one that I've settled on is, can I discover how my heritage has shaped my identity through the process of making a documentary film? So this is a question that can actually be answered through my research, as well as the actual artifact itself, like towards the end of it, because at the end of the documentary, I will be able to measure whether I have discovered how my heritage has shaped my identity, as opposed to some of my previous questions, which were all way too broad and sort of unanswerable, which would, obviously wouldn't have been very useful for a research project. So the synopsis of the film. So it's my research project will be a self-reflexive documentary that depicts my research journey into how the concepts of home, race, and social constructions influence people's identities. So it's a topic that I feel well positioned to explore, as this film will be a personal exploration of my identity and how society's perceptions have affected it. Since I was young, my mixed heritage has always been a proud part of my personal identity, having always seen myself as being a mix of Kenyan, Dutch, and British. However, for as long as I can remember, people's reactions, informed by society's stereotypes, have left me with a kind of like imposter syndrome, feeling sort of confused or attacked for the way that I identify. So this film will be telling my story of self-discovery as I embark on a journey to better understand why some members of society see me differently to how I do, and discovering whether the way that I've shaped my identity for my life so far is that actually legitimate, and or whether my perceptions of my identity have always been wrong. So within this journey, I shall examine my family's origins and stories of migration, as well as the colonial context which surround them. Through interviewing my father, I'll explore the home that he once had in Kenya and the troubling circumstances of why he left. And the power a passport has in dictating your identity and where you're allowed to be. I shall re-examine my connections to my Dutch heritage, travelling back to the Netherlands and exploring how my time playing for the Dutch national rugby team has influenced my identity. I'll ask questions about whether I truly assimilated into the team or not, through talking to former teammates and their families about how I was perceived as being like a foreign-born player. This film will also follow as I talk to academics and specialists about the psychologies of what home means to people and the effects of being left without one, as well as going to them for sort of unbiased academic opinions on what formulates home, and how society has sort of shaped to view migration and the historical contexts around particularly my family's migration. Finally, this film will be a cross-cultural comparison as I talk to other people who have also got mixed heritages about their perceptions of themselves and my story, all in the hope to better understand where I belong and whether I can be proud of my heritage, and why my current experiences have left me feeling that society is happier to approve my Dutch heritage rather than my Kenyan heritage. So the methodology for this project, so it's going to be an auto-ethnographic style of research, which essentially means that I will be reflecting on how I respond to external stimuli. So auto-ethnographies are, as you can see in the quote here, they're a non-traditional way for researchers to use their own sort of experiences within their research, which will obviously fit this sort of exploration because it's a personal, it's a personal question that I'm trying to answer through a documentary. I'm choosing to make a documentary as part of the methodology because it's a highly transferable like style of research, which means it's more easily accessible for people to sort of watch, to be able to understand the initial debates and then my contribution to that debate through a documentary in an easier format than it would be for people to engage with, a 10,000 word dissertation, for example. Also on a sort of more like personal level, like I want to make something as my sort of final project, as opposed to writing a dissertation, just because I feel that you know, committing 6 months of time to it, that will make me want to do it more than if I was going to be doing a 10,000 word document, in all honesty. So the major projects, so the actual artifact itself will be the feature-length documentary, Mimi, myself, and I. And then the groundwork will consist of a logbook and a director's cut of the film, or a video essay. I'm still a little bit unsure about which way I want to go on that. But the logbook will sort of contain all the pre-production organisation for shooting the film. So actually organising, you know, travelling to the Netherlands, the kit, the equipment, the risk assessments, the treatment, yada yada. The pre-production interviews with the contributors, as well as the sort of research into the topic of the film. So the groundwork will then be setting up the existing debate ready for my documentary to be my contribution to the debate. So there'll be like a sort of scholarly section within either the logbook or more likely the video essay, to set out the sort of current academic opinions and the current sort of global and historical context on migration and people's identity. So all of the research into the autoethnographic research and filmmaking methodology will also be a part of this, to understand or to sort of prove why I've chosen to make an autoethnographic documentary effectively. So the next steps will be putting together a crew, which I'm already in the process of doing, organising the shoot, both in the UK and in the Netherlands. Of course, we'll have to see what the joys of COVID bring, and what kind of happens there. But yeah, we'll just sort of have to play that one by ear currently, but moving ahead as if it is all like Gucci to go and do. Researching like the topic further, and then also researching the methodology further. So the feedback that I'm kind of looking for from this presentation would be, firstly, whether anyone would like to contribute to the documentary themselves, anyone with like a mixed heritage or feel that their identity has been shaped by their heritage. I'd be really interested to talk to them, you know, not only for the documentary, but also to help sort of shape the journey of the documentary before we even start filming, but also, of course, you know, actually filming as well. And then also to sort of understand what their perceptions of my heritage and my situation are, so that I can better understand myself through how other people see it. I'd also particularly like to see or talk to anybody who feel has a different viewpoint to myself about being able to say that I have got, you know, links or heritage to both the Netherlands and Kenya, given sort of the colonial contexts, and the social sorry, the social constructs of how people ended up where they were. Also, I'd sort of like to hear back whether this groundwork is enough. Like, does more need to be included in the groundwork, and is the format for the groundwork sufficient? And then, of course, just sort of any thoughts or questions or any sort of feedback that you'd like to give about the documentary or the research project, or even the research question and the topic. I'd just be really interested to hear people's opinions. You know, are all invaluable in terms of shaping it moving forward. So thank you very much.